Visionary, thank you so much for joining me here for another episode at the Nothing for Granted podcast. Today, you're in for a special treat as I am joined by the host of the Mama Made CEO. As I am joined today with the host of the Mama Made CEO podcast, Courtney Wolf. I'm going to give Courtney the opportunity to share all about herself, as you already know how I do. There's no way I could do my guest justice. Courtney, you have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. And yeah, like you said, my name is Courtney Wolf. I am a wife, I'm a mom of four littles, and I am also a business coach for moms. So everyone always wants to know, how did you start that? What led to that? And basically, I have degrees in business and in marketing, and I lasted all of 8 months in corporate America full time before I was like, nope, not for me. No way, no how. I'm going home. And so I did. I was pregnant with our first child, and I always wanted to be a stay at home mom. So I thought, here's my out. I'm having a baby. I'm going home, and I'm never going back to corporate America. And by chance, luck, God, as you have it, right? I fell into virtual assisting by a random post on Facebook of a friend, someone I knew down the line. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm kind of bored. It's a few hours. Money wasn't it for me. It was, I need something to do. I want something to keep me busy. The thought of just like waiting around to have a baby seems super miserable. So I decided to do that on a whim. And it was one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life because I worked for that same brand for almost 6 full years, worked my way up to COO, was running the entire back end, really every single piece of the business I had a hand in of managing and running. We had a team of 6 women, 6 other moms that worked with us, and it was incredible. But there came a time where I really had felt like I had gone as far as I was going to go with that brand. And I was faced with a decision of, okay, what do I do? And there was such a clear, strong pull inside of me of there's more, there's more, there's more. And I had to decide, do I continue to play safe and just stay in my comfy, cozy, salaried position, just doing what I've known and what I've been doing for so long? Or do I really step out and create this new path for myself, for the freedom, for the flexibility I really wanted to have? As much as I loved my other job, it wasn't mine, right? It was just different. And so, in that, I decided to step away. And in the process, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Maybe I'll take some time off. I don't really know. And I just kept coming back to what I had been doing for 6 years. Because as I was working for that brand, friends and families were coming to me and they're like, hey, I want to start something. What do I do? I'm like, oh, yeah, this is so easy. Here's what you do. Do this, do this, do this. Now you have a business. Go for it, type of thing. And so that's what I came back to. And that is what I really just, as much as I was like, is this it? Is it not? Every time I would actually work with someone, there was no denying it. It's like, this is it. This is what I am meant to do, where I feel the most fire and passion inside of me is helping moms start and grow their business in the early stages and really giving them a very linear, clear roadmap for here's all the ideas you have in your head. Here's how we actually turn them into a profitable business that can have consistent income to give you the freedom and the flexibility that they desired just as much as I did.
So good. I love how you started your story with I lasted all of 8 months in corporate America.
Yes.
It's really not for everyone. I'm a true believer that our generation is not a generation that's tied down to one job, one position for 25 years. And that's kind of what we're retiring from. I really feel like our generation has really embraced the fact that business, career, that's an evolution, right?
Yes.
You can be in so many different positions. I mean, we're talking about you went from corporate it's a virtual assistant, building your way up to COO and then saying, you know what? I'm going to start all over again. Like,
Yeah, basically.
that journey, that really is what a career in 2022 looks like. That's
Yeah.
that's real. And so I love that. I want to really dig into, how was that transition for you, going from this, you know, big position, salary position in a brand, to now saying, I'm going to start something on my own, where your audience was already telling you what they needed, right? So you, not only did you feel that tug in your gut of like, yeah, this is what feels really good, this is what I'm passionate about, but you stayed in tune with what people were already coming to you for. You were already the
Yeah.
expert in this area, and you said, you know what, yeah, this is the right move. Can you talk to me about that transition, in mindset, even financially, if you're comfortable with doing that,
Yeah.
um, for the audience who is saying, you know what, I'm really comfortable in my, as a grants professional, I have a really great salary, I don't know if I want to start from zero.
Yes. Yeah. So it was hard. And I underestimated. And I know I was talking with someone else. And I was like, honestly, I was so naive by literally like the grace of God. I was so naive that that was really how I had the courageousness to say, all right, I'm going to do this on my own, is because I don't think I really understood how hard it would be, right? I had a lot of power. I had a lot of say. I had a lot of the direction of the brand that I had control over. And so I'd been running and managing and doing everything it takes to have a brand behind the scenes for how many years. But when it became my name, my brand, my success or failure on my shoulders, it was a whole different ballpark. And honestly, like I was not prepared for it. I felt very, I would say anxious. I had so much anxiety about it. It felt like a roller coaster of when I was working with my clients, I was on cloud nine and this was amazing. And then it would be like crickets. Be like, is this what I should do? I don't know. No one cares, right? Like my mom's the only one liking my post. All of these things that every entrepreneur goes through, every single one. And if they're not telling you about it, they're not being fully honest about it, because that's how it goes. And what honestly was the biggest piece for me is I had to hone that in. I had to be able to step outside of the mind drama of, am I going to do this? Am I not? And so I settle with, I'm giving myself this fixed amount of time. It's no longer a question. I'm not going to sit here and give myself this hypothetical decision of, am I going to keep running my business or not? I'm running my business. I will decide in a year, am I still doing it? Am I not? Right? Because when you're in the beginning stages, actually the statistics for how many businesses fail or close down in the first 90 days, it's like 90 something percent. It is so incredibly high. And I honestly think it's because of the mindset. It's because of the mind drama. It's because we're pouring our heart, our soul, our time, our energy into putting something out into the world. And when we don't immediately, like, right, our microwave society, when we don't immediately see the results, we say, oh, it's not working. I need to go somewhere else. I need to go back to a job. I need to find a 9 to 5, right? And we shrink back into the protectiveness that we think we have, we've known, we enjoyed, even though those were the very things that made us step out into entrepreneurship in the beginning, was because we didn't want those things, right? We wanted the unlimited capability to grow and to build what we want to build, not to be limited by the success of a brand or somebody else's mindset or how their growth journey was looking like. And so I always like to share with my clients of, we're thinking like a crock pot here, right? It takes some time, it warms up and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. Like that's what we're going for, versus again, something like a microwave where it's like instantaneous. But then again, how long do we cook in the microwave versus how long do we cook in a crock pot? You don't want the overnight success that only lasts for a year and then you have no clue what to do. We're building something that's long lasting, right? So we want to actually build such that it can withstand the ebbs and the flows and the ups and downs. And so that was huge. And then the financial piece. So it was the timing of it was all just very ironic because through my entire journey through working, we had never relied on my income ever because for a while it just seemed like it wasn't salary, it was more hourly based or even commission based in some aspects. And so I had been salaried, I want to say it was a full 2 years when we finally said, okay, we can count on this. I feel really good about it. So, what did we do? We sold our home, we moved, we bought a new house, and we started depending on my income. 3 months later was when I decided to leave my job. And so it was scary. It was scary, but I mean, it made me go all in. And honestly, I'm thankful for it because again, it was like I could play the mind drama of, am I going to quit all day long? I'm like, Courtney, you can't quit. You don't have an option to quit. You have to bring in income. Like there's no other option. And honestly, I'm so grateful for that because when I'm able to release the pressure of it and just rise to, this is how it is. I can do this. I've got this. Things come so much easier and so much better than when I'm like grasping, white knuckling, and what are we going to do versus just trusting we've never been without. We will never be without. And that's just the standard that we have for our life. And we trust and we believe, and I know what I need to do to make this successful. I've done it for clients. I can do it for myself. I just have to trust the process, release the mind drama, and continue to believe in the faith of it is coming, it is growing, and I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Ooh, so much goodness. And you're tying into my episode that just dropped today was all about, well, first of all, my episode took a really weird turn.
Love when that happens.
I jumped on with the intention of talking about just like creatives and, grants for creatives and things like that. And like just having the right information. And somehow like Holy Spirit showed up and was like, no, you're going to talk about winning the war on your mind.
Yes.
And you're going to talk about how you need to walk into your inheritance. Like you need to understand that I've already walked before you. The door's already open. Be bold enough to step through that and speak truth, replace the lies with the truth that I've already spoken over you. Yeah. And it's so interesting how people talk about entrepreneurship as this is a skill you need to develop and the skills and the knowledge and the this and the that. But we don't really focus as much on the mindset that's required for the consistency to get the results that maybe developing those skills can get you, right? Or getting the right support, because when you were working as a CEO, you had that support, you had a team, right? You built up that repertoire to have the team. When you're by yourself, you're literally a solopreneur, you're by yourself, you're doing everything all on your own, the marketing and the financing and the everything, right?
Yeah.
But it's so interesting how when you were explaining about how 3 months after you quit your job after buying your new house, you quit your job. I saw it as like a God wink. Yeah. Like, oh, that's really cute. You're depending on your salary. You're depending on, you're counting on this. But I don't want you to count on this. I want you to count on me. I want you to understand that having full dependency on me is going to get you to where your purpose is, right? Yes. And so I think that's so funny. And like you mentioned, really ironic, but a total God thing at the same time. And what can happen when you shift your perspective from me, my skills, what I know, the results that I bring into God, this is your business.
For sure.
Skills you gave me. And like you said, I'm never going to be without because you've got my back. And so we're talking about this audience that's transitioning from 9 to 5 into 9 to thrive, when they're transitioning into freelancers and entrepreneurs. What are your tips on getting out there and just getting in front of people, getting in front of your audience, not waiting for your audience to come to you, but making yourself visible enough to get in front of them?
Yeah. So first of all, I love everything that you said because it's so true that being an entrepreneur, there's such an act of surrendering. And I think that that's a process that all of us have to get to, is once we can come into that place of surrender, that's when things usually will take the biggest turn. So I love that. Okay, so talking about getting visible. So the number one most important thing when it comes to getting visible is connection, creating connection and not writing off, right? I know that I've worked with people in the past where if they were presented an opportunity, they would go and look at the numbers, the amount of followers, and try to weigh, is it worth my time? Is it not? And in some capacity, depending on how long it actually does take, sure, I get it. But you never know which opportunity is going to be your turning point, right? And so, especially when you are starting out, I encourage people to take every single opportunity that comes your way. If you see an opportunity that is coming to you, take it because you never know. But it's all about connection building and just getting to know people. Because again, you never know which person has a friend who could be a potential client or they hear what you do. And the more and more people, the more and more connections, right? We're just sending our sphere of awareness out and out and out. And what it does is actually brings people in. Right. So it's kind of this paradigm. It goes both ways of the more you can connect with people. And I'm not talking like just go follow a bunch of people and hope they follow you back. I'm talking have conversations, get to know people. I've made more like people I would consider friends, legit, who will like send me messages on Instagram, like, how's your day going? Right. In the last 3 months than I have in my entire life of, I haven't been on Instagram my entire life, but my entire span of like 10 years on Instagram, however long it's been, where I was just a spectator, I was just following people, liking here and there, versus being willing to actually make the connections, have the conversations. And again, not only does A, more times than not, turn those connections into clients, or it opens an opportunity for me to get my name, get what I do out in front of more people, to make more connections. And that should always be the number one goal. I think as beginners, people think growth should be the number one goal. I like to flip connection should be your number one goal. How many people are you connecting with? That matters more than how many people are just simply following you for the sake of following you.
Yes, I love that. Um, when we're talking about connections, right? Are we talking only online? Are we talking only social media? Because there's a lot of people that just aren't on the social media, right? Bandwagon.
Yeah.
They don't really, they don't understand the value of it, or they just don't care for it. Can you talk about connection just more in a more curated fashion to different
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. So I believe it can be online, and that is obviously the best way to maximize. There's a lot more people. But I also believe that in person, face to face connection can be just as important. And I always like to challenge, especially new entrepreneurs. If you still have a 9 to 5, you introduce yourself, you tell them you have a job. What do you tell them you do? Are you responding with your side hustle, with your freelance, with your entrepreneur business? Or are you responding with what your 9 to 5 is? Because there's a big difference. And not only does it change you and what are you identifying with, right? But then again, like you're getting your name out there. Are you still hiding? Are you still like playing small of like, well, I have a little business? Are you like, yeah, I do this, right? Like I'm a business coach for moms. That's what I do. I want anyone and everyone I know to know that. That way, again, because I don't know who wants to start a business and who doesn't, and who knows someone or what that is. But if I could also go and say, I'm a stay at home mom, because that's true too, right? I do stay home with my kids. But what identity do I want to actually proclaim and take my stake in when I am connecting and meeting people? And I think that's a really good kind of litmus test of how sold are you? How bought in are you to what you're doing and what you're ultimately trying to create?
That's good. I'm going to give you guys a second to just digest that and really think about that, because 100% you have to be confident in the identity that you're stepping into. Because it can be really easy, especially if you're starting your business as a side hustle, which is totally fine. how are you presenting yourself? Are you telling people, yeah, well, I work marketing for this firm, or I'm a solo marketer for female founded businesses. Like that's
Yes.
it's a very different conversation that you can be having, right? Because you're going from employee to employer, right? And
Yes.
that conversation will be different each and every time.
Yeah.
I used to work as an executive liaison for the CEO of Wyndham. And when we started our barbershop, that I really struggled with that. I would say, no, I'm an executive liaison. And that's cute. That's a cute little title, right? But it was more geared around, okay, well, what does that entail? And et cetera. Versus when I started stepping into, well, I'm the founder of a 6+ figure barbershop.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that. How do you run that? How do you manage that? How is it being a female in a primarily male dominant industry?
Yeah.
That's a different conversation, but I had to own it, right? I had to know that this was my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm good at. And so I think that that's such a great point. Really start having those connections off and online, really start having genuine and authentic conversations with people, right? Not being after the money necessarily, because I believe that the money will come regardless. Like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be directly from that person. It can be from a friend of a friend, like you mentioned. So you mentioned earlier on that the numbers, they do have a place. Okay, but how often should people be looking at their analytics, and or I guess in your 3-step process, how important are the numbers, and at what point in the process should they be pulling those?
Yeah. So numbers are tricky because we talk about the mind drama, and numbers can play a lot into the mind drama. So my caveat with it is always, yourself best. If you know that numbers send you into a tailspin, right? Where if you go and look at like, oh, well, I got 20 followers, but I lost 8. And then you're like, well, who was it? Why don't they like me? What did I do? Right. And it sends you, okay, maybe we're just not ready for that. And that's okay. It's okay. Right. But are you trending upward? Are you getting new followers? To me, amount of people I lose, I don't care. I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. You're not for me, right? But I want to know, am I connecting with every single person that comes into my sphere? That is huge for me. Even if all they do is follow me or they like a random post, am I the one making that connection of, hey, I want to know you are, right? Like we just made a connection. That's what Instagram, Facebook, that's what this stuff is for. Let me actually take it one step deeper. And people honestly can be shocked when I'll like reach out and be like, hey, I'm Courtney. I'm so glad you found me. I'd love to know more about you. Like, and just start building rapport. And honestly, again, that's how I've made not only friendships, but clients and connections and other people to do business with in a collaborative way. And if I was sitting there looking at the numbers of that person has thousands upon thousands of followers more than me, they don't care what I have to say. Or B, they have like 2 followers. They're not I like if we are always judging what we can get or what someone else's numbers or analytics mean to us, we're always going to come up on the losing side because you just don't know. I have worked firsthand with many different brands, and I've worked with brands that have 25,000 followers and they're operating in the red. Every single month, they are losing money. I've worked with other businesses and brands that have 2,000 and they're making 500,000 a year. But when we judge it, when we look at, oh, well, I got this opportunity for a podcast, but they only have 200 followers, right? But when we actually do the math of, okay, how much is, let's say if you have a high ticket offer, right? That's $1,000. If one person buys, if one person comes into your space, is warmed up from hearing your interview, and they actually buy from you, that's worth your time. Do it, right? So don't sit there and try to judge all of this, like, well, is it worth it? If is it not? I don't know about them. Like, let it all go. Let it fall to the wayside and determine, is this opportunity aligned? Is it potentially going to get me in front of people who might be interested in what I'm doing? Is it a connection that could serve me further down the road than if no one in the audience even cares about what I have to say? And these are the type of things that matter, right? And then when it comes to our own analytics, our own stuff of what are we putting out there, you it's so much more than just the analytics, right? We want to be in the know of our analytics, but there's so many more pieces where, again, things can take time to take traction. So it's not that you necessarily need to change anything. We maybe just need to be consistent for a few more weeks before we see anything. Or there may be a disconnect between you and your ideal client, or language you're using, or people are confused about what you're doing. There's a lot of different pieces. So we want to be aware, we want to know what they are, but they're not the end all be all. So I would say I like 30 days. 30 days. If you are trying a new strategy, a new tactic, if you are writing your posts in a new way, give it 30 days and then let's revisit. If there's still nothing, then okay, do we need to change it? What's going on? Let's kind of dig a little deeper to know why something's not working or what did work and how do we incorporate more of it. But I truly believe that the biggest numbers that matter in your business are more so going to be your time and your income goals. And so what that looks like, these are the numbers that honestly everyone misses, right? Where I'll have clients come to me and they're like, I have $100 course. I want to make 200,000 in a year. I have 200 followers. And I'm like, okay, our math is not accurate here, right? We need our math to line up. So what does that mean? Do we need a high ticket or do we need to grow your account? Do we need to get more, right? Like those numbers mean more than just sheer followers, unfollowers, likes, etc. I would rather clients see 10 DM conversations going on in 1 week than 100 new followers. Because at the end of the day, those conversations are going to have a higher conversion rate than someone just coming onto your page, liking something one off, and then forgetting and never interacting with you again.
So good. I agree. I don't even have anything to add to that. Like 100%. I agree with everything you've just said. Take us to number 2. So we've got connection. What would be second, the second way to increase your visibility?
Yeah. So the second way, they all tie together. So you're going to start to see the thread that brings them together. But the second one is interviews. Whether it is podcast, whether it is IG Live, whether it is like magazine articles or newspapers, interviews is one of the best ways to accelerate your authority, to allow you to be seen as the expert in what you are doing, even with freelancing, right? Even like VAs. I hear this a lot from people who are more service providers, like done for you types. I'm like, but I don't have anything to teach. I'm like, yes, you do. You for sure do. You for sure. You need to be the authority, the expert. If I'm handing over a piece of my business to you, I need to know that you have it, that you've got it, right? I don't have to train you and teach you and follow up behind you to make sure you did it the right way. And so interviews, and there's so much kind of psychological when we think of the news, we think of the weatherman, we think of government, right? How do we typically see them speaking to us? On camera. That's a big one. Showing your face on camera. So that's where lives are going to be really helpful, or TV appearances, anything where you can actually have your physical presence be seen is going to enhance your authority. But also, again, your voice, your knowledge, your expertise. Is it clearly coming through in a way that is confident, it is clear, and it's going to compel people to come into your space and know, okay, they know what they're talking about. I need to learn more from them. And so interviews, seek them out, book them yourselves, have someone bring on a pitching team to book for you. Reach out to other people who are like, there's so many ways to secure interviews and collaborations, but that should for sure be in your visibility strategy.
Absolutely. So I just want to add to that, visionary, for those of you that are grants professionals or fundraising experts or just funding experts in general, what this would mean is for you to partner with, if you yourself, if you're not creating long form content, then just have, again, through those conversations, just ask them, this is a topic that I can speak on. This is how I can bring your audience value because this is my area of expertise. And that's an opportunity for you. It's an opportunity not only for you to get your name out there, but also for you to get out of your comfort zone. Because I know the vast majority of you are introverts, and we really want to make sure that we are stepping out of our area of complacency, so that we can grow our businesses outside of the organizations that we're working with. So absolutely, I agree with you. Interviews, they take time, right, to secure, but it's worth it. And that connection that you make with the interviewer, that's worth it. Yes. I have some awesome friendships that have been formed off of podcasts where I've been a guest, and it's been great. I've enjoyed it. We still boxer about like our kids. It's awesome. So I think that is a key point. For those of us that aren't familiar with, like, I don't do IGTV. I feel like they require so much thought that I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to integrate that into my strategy. Can you tell us how would you make that easier for somebody who maybe says, you know what, that actually sounds a little bit more doable than, let's say, YouTube, which I love. Yes. How can you make that so that it's a more comprehensive process?
Yeah. So it really is going to depend on you and what you do. I'm so big on taking content and repurposing it, right? Like if you are constantly having content, repurposing it, or even if you have a post, how can you go a little deeper? And so if, let's say, long form, like IGTV isn't it, stories. Are you showing up on stories? Even reels. You can talk for a minute on reels, which is longer than the stories give you. So that could be a great way. Facebook groups, reaching out to people who have Facebook groups and saying, again, hey, here's what I can do. Are you looking, making connections? Because here's the thing, 9 times out of 10, these types of opportunities come through connection more than they come from someone just posting and you finding it or you pitching them and then coming back, right? Get into groups, get into the sphere of where are colleagues? So where are people who are doing the same thing as you? Where can, again, there be collaboration and connection? But then also B, where's your ideal client? Where are they? How do we find them? And how are we making sure that you are showing up where they are at? That is the most important piece to your visibility, is when you are working with others, where are they? How are you getting in their sphere so that they know you, so that you can build that connection and so that we can walk them through the client journey from cold to warm to hot to a converted client.
So good. Yes to all of it.
I love it.
So now we've got the connection. We've been conducting our interviews. What would be the final step to increasing our visibility as freelancers?
Yeah. So the final step is, again, this is what's going to tie it all together, is your strategy. So what is your clear-cut daily strategy? What are the things that you are doing to move the needle forward through getting visible, building connections, discovering new opportunities? That is where we want to go. And so you get to decide for you, what does that look like? And so I'll give an example, right? So for me, my favorite platform, my favorite way to show up to potential clients is through Instagram. So I make sure I post every day. And then I'm also making sure that I'm on stories, that I'm in my DMs, right? Those are like my 3 non-negotiables every single day. And then I also throughout the week will have other daily tasks that do go into Facebook groups. And is it booking interviews? Is it responding to comments of people who need help with what I do and just providing value and feedback and advice? Is it, again, just building my authority in a different sphere that isn't my warm? market, right? So that's Facebook for me would be where my cold audience would be. So I need to be there. I need to be visible. I need to be building connections with, again, either people that I could potentially collaborate or that we could maybe do some networking together or just lean on one another through entrepreneurship. And also ideal clients. Where are they? But the biggest thing is for you, whatever it looks like, you have to identify, again, number one, where are colleagues, people doing similar things that you can connect with? And number two, where are potential clients and how are you getting in front of both of those types of people every single day in some capacity?
I love that. You mentioned a daily strategy, right? Not something within the next 6 months. I like how it is
Yes.
very honed in on like, what are you doing every single day? Like you said, to push that needle forward. How are you showing up? How are you establishing your expertise? How are you nurturing your audience? I think that too often we're looking super high level and not really getting down to the detail work that's required on a daily basis, especially for those of us that are moms, right? And we have so much going on, and we have you give yourself that space for flexibility by choosing, these are my 3 non-negotiables, but I know that this is where I'm comfortable, this is what's working for me, this is how I'm pursuing those 3 steps, right? So when they're thinking about, okay, well, how can I create a strategy for myself? I'm huge on partnering with coaches and just seeking out help. I think that my time is just the most valuable resource that I have. My energy cannot be just exhausted everywhere. So I'm huge about outsourcing work and getting partnered up with people that are experts in this area. What would be your tip for somebody who is just starting out, doesn't even know how to create a strategy for themselves? Where should they begin?
Yeah. So that is where I would pick some sort of platform somewhere and just start showing up. So we don't just want to be like, oh, hey, happy Thursday, but showing up in a way that, again, are you providing value? Are you educating? Are you belief shifting, right? What are the ways that we are creating content that we are getting visible as they relate to what we do, to building that authority and building that connection? It's all about know, like, trust. So they need to know that we exist, right? We need to be visible in their space. They need to like us and they need to trust us. So those are the 2 connection building pieces. And something that has always stuck with me, and this is how, when I started my business, this is one of like the groundwork pillars, foundational pieces that really dictate how I run my business. And it's actually from Brooke Castillo, who is a life coach. She says, the best way for people to know that you can help them is to help them. And so for me, that looks like, I don't play the whole like, oh, well, if you want me to answer this, come join my program. It's, yeah, hey, you're struggling with this. Okay, so here's what I would dive into first. Like, I can't give you a full comprehensive answer because I don't know everything about your business, but where I would start with you is think of these, then these. And then usually they do come back and they're like, I don't know, give me everything. But decide for you. What is it going to look like? Are you going to be on Instagram 3 days a week? Are you going to create your own Facebook group and start getting people in there? Are you going to be active in 3 Facebook groups for a month? Are you going to TikTok? You get to decide when it comes to visibility in the online space. Options are endless. So pick one, create a posting schedule, determine how often are you going to be seen? Are you going to be building that know, like, trust? Commit and stay consistent for at least 30 days before we then like elsewhere, or we start stacking strategies and bringing on more. Start small, stay consistent. That is honestly going to be the hardest, the biggest piece of, I don't care if, again, your mom is the only person who likes your stuff for the first 3 weeks, that 4th week, tides can change really quickly and you can actually see a major difference. So stay consistent, get support, know what you specifically need. So much of entrepreneurs, knowing ourselves, and looking within of, okay, I've even had coaches that have given me strategy and I'll try it. I'm like, no, I don't like this. I'm not doing this. Like, you may have built a $500,000 business doing that. I cannot, because I don't like it. And that energy that I'm bringing to it is so off that everyone here is going to know it. So I can say do XYZ, but honestly, it's so personal. It should be so customized and aligned to you. When you show up in this way, does it light you up? Are you excited? Can you not wait? Right? Or you're like, oh, I have friends over here. I want to go talk to them. Or if you're feeling more like constrictive and, oh my gosh, I have to do this again and I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do, right? Then we need to figure out something else that is going to feel aligned and it's going to feel good. That's part of being an entrepreneur. Like, there's definitely some hard and things that we don't like that we have to do, like, taxes, but there's so much that you should enjoy what you're doing the majority of the time if you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's really good. How important would you say that like website and professional imagery is in this process? I mean, the conversation of websites, everyone has their own opinion on it. I think that people, especially whether you're a freelancer or jumping into full-time entrepreneurship, I feel like you should have at minimum some sort of landing page just so that people can learn more about you and, just familiarize themselves with your work. But how important would you say professional imagery is, whether on social media, on your website, or just in the platforms that you're showing up on?
Yeah. So everyone, like you said, is definitely going to have a different opinion. I think it depends on your industry. It depends on specifically what you do. I tell my clients, you do not need a website, especially in the early stages. There are ways to build authority to, again, make connection. Most of my clients I sign, they're never through my website. In fact, I don't think I've ever booked a client through my website. Like, ever. It's always through personal connection, me coming, but I don't do evergreen, right? I don't like send them to my website. I send them to come talk to me because I know that once they can hear me, once they can know me, once they can get my personality, that's going to sell them so much quicker than just a professional picture of me on my website, right? So that's kind of where I stand with it. I do believe that imagery is important in the sense that, again, naturally by nature, we are drawn to things that are pleasing to the eye. They're pretty to look at, right? They're captivating. They're going to capture our attention. So I would say if you're going to do either, go with images before you go with a website. Websites they can cost a lot of money. They can take a lot of time depending on how much you're building them out. But professional imagery can be used obviously in all of your socials and people are kind of just drawn to that. But it's not necessary. If that is what's holding you back, don't. That is what I always say. Like, that is not the biggest piece. That is not the most important thing. You can make money. You can sign clients without having those things. Eventually, yes, we want those things because there is a piece of more elevated, more professional. You just kind of take it to the next level. But do not let not having a website or professional photos ever keep you from actually starting your business.
100%. I agree with you. I started my business before anything. I think all of my photos, even the ones on my website now, I just took myself. So you can get scrappy. You can
portrait mode.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Courtney, I love this 3-step process to just getting in front of our clients. It's super easy. It's not, and I think that's what I love about it. It's something that anyone can do, regardless of the degrees that you have or don't have, regardless of whether this is a side hustle or if this is something that you're doing full time. I mean, these are steps that I follow myself, and I can honestly tell you they work.
Yes.
Guys, okay. Before Courtney even said any of this, I was already doing this, and I can tell you that what she has shared with you, it really does work. And so check out the show notes, and of course the blog, so that you can take some notes if you need to, copy paste and put it into your notes. That way you can create your strategy based off of this foundation, and get yourself in front of your ideal clients so so that you can create the freedom that you want as a funding expert. Courtney, tell my audience where they can hang out with you, where they can have some meaningful connections with you, and just listen to your podcast and all that good stuff.
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, Instagram is my space. So you can find me at Courtney Wolf Coaching. There's no E in Wolf. So, COURTNEYWOLF Coaching. And if you do come over, please pop in my DMs, say hi. I would love to connect and get to know you more, learn more about you, what you do. And obviously, on my page, you'll find all the business strategies and tips and helps. And I like to share the fun, random things my kids do just to, relate to all the moms out there. So you'll typically find like, okay, we have jury sessions of here's what's happening, what we were told has happened. What does the jury of Instagram think? So everyone enjoys it. It's really fun. And yeah, just that mixture of mom life and business and how to, again, get more visible, how to lay the foundation for your business so that you can build the business of your dreams and truly step into that next season.
This was great. Thank you so much for being on today's show. This was amazing. Visionary, thank you so much for being here, for listening to this episode all the way through. Please be sure to go check out the Mama Made CEO podcast, and I will see you in the next one. Many blessings on you.